All right, you guys. So I'm just gonna kind of freely talk about the market, show you this Tesla play, talk a little bit about Bitcoin and what is shaping up here. So with Bitcoin, like I had talked about, the sell-off, which would break these levels we were holding here when we were around this 20,000 and this range. What I had talked about is, will it be a data-driven catalyst like CPI, or would it be a news event? Turns out it was a news event. FTX, the exchange, the fourth largest exchange in the world, froze withdrawals. And so Bitcoin currently in this rally from the CPI numbers coming in. And, you know, you're going to see this bullishness now, right? And I am bullish short term on Bitcoin. But there is greater risk of contagion is what it is going to be called. So with FTX, there's going to be a lot of rumors, a lot of things said. No news event on FTX is going to be good for crypto. So right now, people just recognize the house is on fire. They tried to get out, and they can't get their money out. And the CEO of CoinDesk was on today talking about, he doesn't know what this guy was up to. This guy, Sam, right? Sam. What's Sam up to? Well, looks like Sam over leveraged, to put it nicely, whether it was intentional or not. So you're going to hear the speculation. Now, the idea is that no matter what the speculation is right now, when the news is found out, either way, it's bad for Bitcoin. There's not going to be a good story. So what to expect is more volatility, but this story may take some time to unpack. So between now and then, you might have some upside, okay? So that's what to pay attention to with Bitcoin is that. Now, the other thing it does is, because there's risk of contagion, meaning that the exposure FTX felt or had, that can bring contagion into the traditional market. And so what you're going to see is this is kind of like the nail in the coffin, where this is where now the regulators have something to work with. And so this event here changes the crypto world forever. And you're going to see more regulation and things like that. But in the short term, that doesn't mean you can't, hit some long plays, that kind of thing. So just wait and see how the story plays out. But the idea that that this is, this bottom here may be the bottom. This may be the bottom for the year. You could have a lot of upside here because this case is going to take a long time to settle. You're going to have ups and downs during it, but the result of it is that that's the fear, right? So as long as crypto people are isolated to crypto, that's cool. But now it's all kind of been mixed together, guys. So you have to understand the broader scope of the problem here is that can now bleed into the markets. And, banks, there's banks that hold crypto. There's contagion possibilities and no one knows right now. Just like cancer, you don't know what stage of cancer that it's got, right? It has that virus and contagion spread to other hedge funds, has it spread to a JP Morgan maybe, and that's the space you're in right now. No one knows, okay? So Bitcoin on the CPI data, which came in lower than expected for the first time, you got this big pump. I watched it this morning, and I closed all my shorts, all that kind of stuff. So out of Bitcoin, it's more important to track the market. So I want to show you, because just looking through these numbers, I've been talking about how things are not correlating. Today is the first day where you have a possible bottom. And when I say bottom, I don't mean long term. I mean a bottom that could have a large swing and or you may bottom in December. But let's just say for now, and just because I don't want to show you the example, okay, of why I would believe this would be a normal bottom, and why I bought some Tesla today, and why I'll put some money into some traditional plays, right? So the whole time you see how the SPY got this 5%, and by the way, they predicted this, a 5% move in either direction off of this news. You see that? So you got this 5%, but I want to show you, you see how TLT cooperated? This is what I've been talking about. Until TLT cooperates, you're not really seeing a tradable bottom, an area where you're not, I mean, you're at risk, obviously, but this is something where this rally might be sustained over a period of weeks, okay, leading into, you know, probably next CPI. So you got about a month. So you have all the bad data behind you, CPI, midterm elections, you know, all these things people have worried about in the market are kind of behind them for the next month. So you might see a sustained rally, right? So if you're hearing this as me saying the stock market is going to go to all-time highs, I'm not saying that. I'm saying a sustained rally for a couple weeks, okay? That could be, you know, you could get some 20% gains on some of these more common stocks. Okay, so TLT, you notice that cooperated. So why do I believe this? Here's why I believe this. TLT cooperated. TNX, you see this? Okay, this has been up here for close to a year. A pullback is good, up is bad. That's it. So pullback, good, up is bad. And so we saw a significant pullback in the 10-year Treasury. All right, so these are the indicators that are showing you that there's a macro change. Everything else is just kind of shuffling papers on the desk. These are macro changes. There's a change to the trading environment, and now things will price in. Okay, so that's what happened on the you know, kind of world stage today. Now, if you go to the VIX, I'm going through all these. I want you to see what a sustained rally could look like. When to know, can you go long and trust that, you know, for the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're not going to see a big dump. That's what we're talking about. Are you risking big downside off of these numbers? No. The VIX is pulled back. TNX is pulled back. TLT is cooperating. These are macro indicators that are showing you this could be a move to the upside for a couple weeks. Right? So with that, I had some plays that I wanted, and this morning, last night, I went and what I wanted to do is get Tesla yesterday at 177, but then if the report came out, and I just didn't have I just don't want to take unnecessary risk. I said, well, if the report comes out then negative, then I'll get hit on that. And so going back to this Tesla play, if we go back to go back to the 15-minute, and I'll show you how I did this to get the best entry, right? So just like you have this big kind of rip in the morning, this is basically the CPI data. Then you can see it form and hit this top, and you had this candle, right? So what I was watching to get this entry, I was looking at this candle here, and then I found this level with these wicks, right? So I did that on a 5-minute. Okay, and you see how we got this touch on the 5-minute, and you can see this consolidation area on the 5-minute. See the touch here, 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 even back here. So this is a support zone on the 5-minute. So that's how I found this entry for Tesla. And so what I noticed is I don't want to buy the top. What I wanted to do intraday, midday, is I want to wait for a pullback. And so in order to do that, what I do is you go over to the this SPX, right? And so what you're waiting for is when you get a pullback on the SPX, that's going to lead Tesla. So you don't want to enter into plays when, well, you kind of do sometimes, but for the market we're in right now, more risk adverse, you don't want to enter into plays at a top. So you wait for the SPX to pull back on like a 5-minute or 15-minute, which usually happens midday, right? You got the pop in the morning, you got the gap up. Look at, I mean, this is a monster gap up this morning. This is CPI data. You got the gap up, the continuation. This is close of European market around here, and then you got the pullback intraday. So that's around 11 o'clock, which is where I would have bought the Tesla. And then what you have is closing. You start to get this move, and then if things are going well, what will happen is people start to buy in at the end of the day. They call it power hour from noon to 1 on the Pacific, and that's what you see is this run up into the close of the day. Okay, so I knew intraday to wait for the intraday pullback on Tesla in order to get that entry, right? And so you can see it played out. And now when I woke up early this morning, what the bummer for me was, because I don't have a pre-market on my TD Ameritrade, which you could do, is it had already, if I'd bought it yesterday, I was in here. This is where I had my entry at yesterday, 177. And I just didn't do it. I wanted to take the risk. But at the end of the day, what happened was the pre-market, that move was so big that it had already gapped up, right? So then I knew from the open that it's going to move up further, but then you got to wait for the intraday pullback, which is what I did. And on the 5-minute chart, you can see that the intraday pullback, and then right around here, they released some news that they were going to, I think it was something about solar, and it was a mass withdrawal from some of their solar programs or something. So anyway, that's kind of how to find an entry when you're coming in this market. So then another, to play what will probably be a move to the upside, over a period of weeks. So if we were to look at it, maybe this is, yeah, well, that chart's on 5 minutes, so it's not going to show you what I want. But basically, maybe running into like the first week of December, December 9th. So what we could see is upside come into this trend line. This is kind of what, real quick, just something where, you might have a breakout of this trend line and then retrace, all right? So that's what I'm expecting based off the CPI data. And so along with that, what I wanted to do is get some value, things that have a lot of low risk. Not a fan of the products that the Ultra Group sells, but you can see I hit that entry right there. Bottom ticking the low of the day for Mo, which is, it is what it is, chicky baby. So there you go. So there's my entry on Mo. It's only 1%. This isn't something that's going to rip. I just wanted to do something that was like kind of safe and mellow. So on these ones, the ones that really dumped, you can see Amazon, Meta. Now, look at my dumbass. Should have held on to that, huh? But you never know, right? I actually sold out of this. So on this, I'd be waiting for some form of a pullback. Amazon's a little different. Amazon might be something worth entering at this point. Apple, Apple's disgusting. So, wait, you might get a pullback, you might not. Got my eye on Rumble for more of like a long term. I wouldn't mind getting some Rumble. But before I was waiting for this pullback to 807, and I don't think we're going to get that now. When this moves, it's going to pop big, but the levels that it's at right now, you see, and it's only, this is an IPO. So if you don't know anything about it, this is the streaming platform Rumble. And so right in here, you see how it's in this zone. So those are some of the like swing trades I'll be looking at, that kind of thing. But I just want to show you how it all kind of works together. And so that's why, I feel okay about trying to hit up some of this other stuff. UNG, it's volatile, and that's the whole point of playing this. But you can see today, look, we're getting this trend upwards, and you may not get another retest of 1908 based on these market conditions, right? So, you could double down here. You could wait for a pullback to this line, and then ride it to the upside, because if the market cooperates, this wedge can break to the upside, and then you start to consolidate here, because we're moving into winter time. So up to you what you want to think about that. Oxy's another one that this is a big Warren Buffett kind of trade, but you could have some real upside on that for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And so yeah, those are the things to pay attention to. Obviously, the yen got completely destroyed today. The pound rallied. The dollar is down. So you can see now what I've been talking about. If you're just learning, you see how the pound, boom. But why? Because the dollar, boom, right? Now the yen is a whole nother situation. And I don't even fully understand that move today. I haven't looked into it yet. But there you go, guys. So I think that pretty much covers it. As far as what's going on over here with crypto, you just got to be careful in a big way right now, because that news could get people real jumpy, and I don't think the news is just going to suddenly cause this to crash again, because the market already digested part of this news. But what you're going to see is maybe a slower grind lower, especially moving into the next 90 days, as it's found out what happened, who was exposed. That's what you got to pay attention to. So if you start to, no news is going to be good on this, and it's just how much effect does it have? Does it have contagion into the other markets? And if it does, then this is going to get totally destroyed, because the real ballers out there, they don't want little Bitcoin's people, it has an effect on the market, but it's really garbage as far as an investment long term, and it's garbage as far as the market's concerned. The market could do without Bitcoin, dude. And so if this thing becomes a virus that can affect the real money, the real players, they're not going to have any problem regulating, and how that plays out, we just don't know. But in the short term, if I am looking to long something, I'm waiting to see some more news, and then somewhere in that range. So if I'm looking to long, I'm waiting for a pullback. We need to see a pullback to around 16,000, and you see this consolidation, and a lot of times you get this, right? And you see how it rolled over. That was yesterday. But then you got the pump. This is CPI, and this is kind of artificial right now, because that's all from the CPI hype. You got to wait now for the market to digest what's going on with that. Otherwise, you could be way too early, and it'd be foolish to buy Bitcoin here, when just Monday people were panicking and, they're, ready to jump out a window. So, it could look like this ahead, and that would be something to look at. this retracement here, or it could come all the way down. So you just got to watch the news on this. You can't, this is going to be news driven. So the one thing I will say is Bitcoin is now news driven, right? So that's what's up, man.